We'll call to order the Senate Regulated Industries Committee meeting. Looks like our final meeting before crossover day. Two bills on our agenda today. They both deal with the coin-operated amusement machines. Senator Dixon has SB 536 and Senator Mullis has SB 483. There's also a committee sub in your folder, and there will be a summary of what that contains by Senate Research Office. Senator Mullis has agreed to defer, in this case, to Senator Dixon's version of this legislation, so we will not be hearing his. Several people have signed up under that number. I'm going to treat the whole list, since it's the same subject matter, anybody signed up to be heard on these matters. And I'm going to start with Senator Dixon, if I can find him. There we go. If you want to just walk us through your initial version of Senate Bill 536, and for our committee members, that's LC 280467. It'll be in your folders with a summary of it. Senator Dixon and I have discussed the changes made to the bill. He understands those and is prepared to go forward on the substitute, but I wanted to give him an opportunity to explain what was in your initial version of the bill so that we can compare and contrast the changes made here. So the floor is yours, Senator. Let me get your mic live and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Today I bring before you Senate Bill 536, which has to do with the COAM industry. And I'll just kind of go quickly through. There's four major changes to it, and I'll start off in Section 1 in the bill. The Administrative Procedures Act. The Georgia Lottery would have to comply with the Administrative Procedures Act, the APA, only when acting as a regulator for the COAM industry. This would not apply to traditional lottery. The APA allows for more transparent rulemaking process with notice and a comment period to allow for input from stakeholders. This affords the lottery recognizable standards with rules changing in the industry. The second section has to do with the Class A machines. And the Class A machines are machines you see, at Dave & Buster's or Chuck E. Cheese, or the kind of grab claws or jukeboxes, if you say. And then Class B machines are your COAM machines that you see in convenience stores or restaurants and bars and things like that. But going back to Section 2, what it changes is currently those Class A machines, your claw machines that you see, or games that you play in Dave & Buster's. Currently the limit for value on those prizes is $5 in the state of Georgia. This bill would propose to increase that to $50. And it coincides with Florida. Florida's limit is $50 for crane machines, and then up to $500 for redemption at the counter. Alabama, Tennessee, and North Carolina do not have limits set on the Class A machines. The other part in Section 2 that changes, or it adds, the gift card, which allows gift cards as an allowable form of prize redemption in the state of Georgia. Currently, the COAMs can only redeem for in-store merchandise, gas, lottery products, things of that nature. The gift card is a statutory approved non-cash prize to award to Class B players. And the lottery has done a pilot program already on this. The gift card would significantly increase compliance with state law. The gift card would also allow mainstream retailers to benefit from the Class B market. That would help revenues going back to Hope, and it would also help industries within our state that have been hurt severely by COVID as well. Section 3 in the bill, it has to do with the acceptance of the gift card is the act of the in-store redemption. No value can be placed on the gift card unless it's won by the player. The winnings on the gift card can be fully redeemed for off-premise purchases as well. A player can redeem their winnings from a self-serve gift card redemption machine. So if you can see kind of like a kiosk, you could see that may be placed throughout the store near the machines where they could put in their voucher where they've won and then choose what type of gift card that they receive after that. And then moving on to Section 4, what it has to do is with veterans like VFWs and fraternal organizations where they would be exempt. It would be only for those two types in the state of Georgia. It would not be industry-wide. Just want to make that clear, where they would not be able to meet the 50-50 rule in regards to sales, and that would exempt them from that. And then, finally, what this bill will do, it will help maximize, or it will maximize lottery revenues. It will assist in family fun centers like arcades and Dave & Buster's and other places like that with the Class A machines. It will help VFWs tremendously, I believe, and it will also level the playing fields for good actors in the industry. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I want to be clear on one thing. On line 78 to 80, these gift cards would be redeemable or exchangeable for any goods or services to which a person is entitled or permitted by law to purchase. Does that change the dynamic where you can now purchase alcohol and tobacco where you currently cannot?
Yes, sir, that is correct. It would allow that.
Right. And as far as the 50% rule, let's just call that 50% revenue, is that still in play other than at the VFWs or American Legions where you would have to have 50% of your proceeds from something other than the
You are correct,
machines?
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, that exemption is only for VFWs and fraternal organizations,
All right.
like Moose Lodges or things like that.
All right. Are there questions from any committee members? Senator Harbison.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator, if you could give me a clear picture of the 50% rule exemption for veterans organization, and what other kind of skin they have to put in the game? Are they still subject to some kind of tax that's paid on the machines, or is it clear across the board in every aspect of it as it relates to the Conan machines?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they would still adhere. Currently, state law, 45% of revenue goes to the operator of the location, so the VFW. 45% goes to the group that actually installs the machines and manages those, and then 10% goes to the lottery. So none of that would change as far as in my bill. Yes, sir.
Okay,
That's
so
correct.
They'd not have any kind of meet the same criteria as a big operation like
Yes, sir.
Statewide, rather.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Other questions from committee members for the author? Let me ask you one. Last year, this issue came before us, and there was a lot of discussion about the illegal inducements being paid to basically operator licensees to receive the machines or whatever, have them placed there by master licensees. This seems to be silent on that issue. Okay.
Yes, sir. As far as what this bill would help, as far as bad actors in the industry that pay cash, this, I believe, would help level that playing field for the good actors, and hopefully clean up the industry. But it does not address that, no, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, and stand by. We have a question from Senator Brass.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for the late question, but Senator, I want to go back to the gift cards. So they can be, I just want to make sure I'm clear. So they can be used at any place, any location, any business, any type of business, for anything as long as it's lawful. Is that?
That is
Am I
correct.
understanding
Yeah,
that?
and kind of the way that I see it, yeah, I mean, they could choose a Longhorn gift card or an Applebee's gift card or anything that they choose, or the location chose to put in those machines
Okay, thank you.
as far as redemption.
So
Yes, sir.
under your bill, if a bar had a line of 9 of these machines, people could win their gift card and go buy drinks with that gift card?
Yes, sir, the way this bill is written.
Okay. All right. Okay. Senator Mullis, what's your number over there? All right.
Now, does this have a tax increase for the COAM industry?
No, sir, it doesn't. No, it stays at the 10%.
There's no additional fees or?
No, sir.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Michael Callahan, Federal Order of Police or Fraternal Order of Police.
Good afternoon. If you will allow me to introduce myself, my name is Michael Callahan. I'm here as a citizen today. I took off work, drove my vehicle up here to address this committee on the COAM issues. But in the nature of full disclosure, I am a special agent or assistant special agent in charge with the GBI regional office in Thomasville, Georgia. I'm also a member of the Fraternal Order of Police, and this is my 30th year in state law enforcement. So my expertise or my information I'm going to provide you today in reference to the co-am industry comes from 4.5 years of working undercover, investigating the co-am industry when I was assigned to the commercial gambling unit with the GBI. After reading the bills, I felt that it was important to come give you a different perspective of what actually happens, and those are going to be based on my experiences and my experiences alone. Typically what would happen when working undercover is you would go to sometimes a gas station, sometimes a storefront to where they have old clothing hanging in the windows. There'd be 15 cars parked out front. You'd go inside, you'd see nobody because they're in a back room playing co-ams. It's dark, it's quiet, it's smoky sometimes. And generally the people in my experience that I played with were the members of our society who could least afford to lose the money. Didn't play at country clubs, didn't play at fine restaurants, never saw nobody in a suit and tie or a nice dress playing these machines. Two experiences I'll tell you about that kind of drive home what I'm talking about is one occasion I'm playing, there's an elderly lady sitting next to me. She's 82 years old, I think. So I start chatting her up because that's what I do. I find out that she has lost her home because she spent all her money, Social Security money, playing the machines. That's her addiction. Several months later, I'm playing in a bar with a back room with co-ams in it. Sits down next to me is a sergeant at a local jail. I know that because she's got on her jail uniform. She's playing. She wins $600, if I remember right. She goes outside, sits at a picnic table doing her jail paperwork, waiting on the owner to come give her her cash money. So I go out there and sit down next to her, and again, I'm chatting her up because of what I do. I find out 2.5 months later that she's committed suicide because she has lost all her money and was bankrupt playing these machines. So I'm here today to talk about the citizens who are affected directly negatively about these machines. It's a $5 billion business in the state of Georgia. I think, if I remember the numbers right, there's 5,200 locations and about 30,000 machines. Those numbers may be 6 months old, but they fluctuate. The gift cards, what I see happening based on my experience with the gift cards is that they're allowed, is they're not going to get Applebee's gift cards. They're not going to get, they're going to most likely Visa gift cards. They can take those cards anywhere and buy alcohol, tobacco, guns, which are all now prohibited under the current law. And it still amazes me that the amount of money that the co-ams pull out of these communities. And again, they're not country club communities. They're not at your college and universities. They're in the environments, and you know what I'm saying, where the people can least afford to lose the money. And that's where it's coming from. That's where it's all coming from. I suspect that if asked, the lottery would tell you that the busiest days are probably around the 15th or the 1st of the month when government checks and paychecks come out. So that's the money going into these machines. And I thank you for letting me talk to you.
Got a question for you from Senator Brass.
First off, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, I do want to say thank you for bringing this perspective that I don't know that we've had in the 2 years of debate. So I think you definitely bring a side of it we haven't necessarily heard. Do you think, one of my reasons I am kind of in favor of doing something along these lines is getting the cash out of the equation. And you had mentioned the gift cards. You know, you can go buy alcohol, you can go buy guns, whatever other examples you gave, but you can't go buy drugs. So, I mean, do you think maybe this could kind of help along those lines? And just want to get your thoughts on that, because like I said, I appreciate your perspective on this and want to learn more.
Based on my experience, a drug dealer will take your credit card. He'll take your Visa gift card.
Okay, that's fair.
And I think what you'll see some too, and this is just based on my experience now, is that this $500 Visa gift card that I just won, that they just gave me on this Co-Am, I'm going to walk next door or down the street, and I'm going to sell that gift card to a store. And I'm going to get, I don't know, 85% maybe. That, I can tell you, that will happen.
Okay.
You know, people don't play these games to win a gallon of milk or a lottery ticket or a gallon of gas. You're not going to spend $300 trying to win a $3 or $6 gallon of milk now, probably. You're just going to go buy the gallon of milk. So I don't know that gift cards will change it. Not if it's a in-store, which they can do now through a gift certificate for the store. But if it opens up where they can do a Visa gift card and take it anywhere and do anything with it, I don't think it's going to be any different.
Senator Harbison.
Yeah, just a follow-up on that. Sir, you mentioned that every time it was on a back room and it was dark, that kind of thing. And what would you suggest that we do under the current situation to alleviate or minimize that kind of thing?
It probably takes somebody smarter than I to answer that question. I don't know what the solution to the problem is. That's not exclusive. I've gone into some locations and I've seen 3 machines sitting out front. But generally those are not being played for some reason. The ones in the back rooms, I've had to wait before, stand in line and wait to get on the machine. And that's happened more than once. But I've never gone into a location to where it was bright, there was music playing, people tending to you, you know, amusement, you know, it's always kind of shaded in the back room.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I thank you for sharing your testimony. If you don't mind hanging around, I know you have Cindy Ledford with the GBI Commercial Gambling Unit with you, and if y'all would just stay handy in case we have further questions that come up.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mike Griffin, Georgia Baptist.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Mike Griffin. I'm the Public Affairs Representative with the Georgia Baptist Mission Board. And we're here in opposition to this legislation. It won't be the first time, although we do stand in favor of tightening regulations. I appreciate what Les and others have done to try to do that, because it's apparent that there is some corruption going on. And our concern is that really there needs to be more work done on enforcement. My understanding is there's only 10 GBI agents assigned to this, and it's pretty granular. It's hard to deal with in order to enforce this. But we're concerned mainly about the $50 gift card, because we believe that would further incentivize people to be more involved in these machines that we believe to be addictive. We believe that they're destructive. And I know that legally they're not gambling machines, because they do require some human intervention. Legally and technically they're not, but they are very destructive. The DA down in Bibb County made this statement back in 2019, and he said this problem will not go away until the legislature acts to ban these machines that are wreaking havoc in our communities. His name is David Cook. He went on to say, he says this is what he called it, video gaming machines contribute to behavior addictions and take advantage of the most vulnerable in our community, and we just heard proof of that. He goes on to say, he says, while it is illegal for stores to make cash payouts, he says the GBI tells me that most of them do. I'm just saying that's just some of the information that's out there. Eric Groth, who is the president of the Georgia Council on Problem Gambling, he calls them video slots and video slot machines. And I can say I went just recently out and took some pictures of them again in a business, and we had 2 of them here last year. And I think me and Senator Gooch went back there, but I didn't play them. I let him play them. You did. Yeah, I did. I said, last thing I need is y'all to get a picture of me back here playing one of these. Oh, yeah, yeah.
We don't have to worry about you qualifying this week.
Yeah, well, the human intervention was me to say no. That was the part in that. I know we're having a lot of good time here, but I'm telling y'all, this is difficult, because when you walk in these places, they are not, but they look like mini casinos. They're not, but they look like it. And I'm just saying, it's a dangerous industry, I believe. And I pastored 35 and a half years. I used to live in Hart County, and I know what they used to be called, but they're not that anymore. But I'm just saying, it does carry with it that, and then there's a destructive part. And we see that down the line, just in general, if you were just talking about some other type of gambling, the social cost typically outweighs whatever money you're making on the other side of it. So I think there's a moral responsibility we have to do what we can, at least, A, not to incentivize more people doing it, and B, to make sure there's stronger enforcement, at least at a minimum, and of course tightening regulations as much as you can as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Mr. Griffin? Senator Mullis.
I would like to know, what did they used to be called?
I can't say that because
Oh, is
I've
it a bad
been
word? Okay.
advised not to call them that anymore.
Okay, I didn't know what the answer was. I
Might
was
have
just
been
curious.
one-armed bandits.
I bet this is worse than that, or he'd have said one.
Well, can I say what they used to be called? I have to ask Les for permission to do
Les?
that.
He don't care.
Years ago, they were video poker machines. They're not video poker machines now. Legally and technically, they're
Yeah,
not,
when I
because they
first
do
got here,
require
Mr.
more.
Chairman,
They're
I was
not.
against video poker with Mike Beatty. We
Right.
fought the fight. You probably liked me back then. But
No,
I've
I still
given
like
up
you
that,
now.
and I've gone downhill from there, but I'm good with it.
Seriously, they did improve, and they're not the same, but there still is an addictive element, and there is a social cost that apparently is out there that's creating some other environments that, I mean, I've been in here to a number of these hearings on this type of legislation, and there is, again, we don't want to throw everybody under the bus because there's bad actors. There are bad actors in everything you have out here, but apparently there's a good bit of it here, but again, I can't tell you how much.
You mentioned Hartwell. Were these banned in South Carolina totally when Nikki Haley was governor?
It would have been before that.
Before that?
Yeah, this would have been like in 2002, 2004, back in those times.
Right.
And Georgia stopped it too, by the way. I mean, there was a ban on that here, if I understand correctly, and then they came back as a different version, but they were not the same machine.
All right, so I've gotten an email from you and Paul Smith and several Christian organizations today about a rally tomorrow, and Ralph Reed's called about a rally tomorrow. Is that against this or against all forms of gambling? What you guys got going on at the Capitol?
Well, the press conference tomorrow is just a press conference on protecting Georgians from gambling expansion. So it's going to be moving forward. It won't be technically anything to do with this.
Would you consider?
You want me to add it into it?
No, I'm wondering, do you consider going to gift cards or cash equivalents such as that an expansion of this form of gambling?
Well, that may be something we need to consider. We're basically looking at the ballot initiative that is being considered by the legislature for the last basically 9 years to add additional gambling. Our point is to be able to draw a line and say, okay, we're not happy with a lot of things that happen, but we just don't need to do any more. It's kind of like I have had cancer in one part of my body, but I sure don't want it on the other side of my body either. So we feel like this is a cancer in many ways, but At this point, we're just saying, let's don't go any further. And we think the best thing we could do is do a better job of regulating and better job of enforcing. And, you know, if it came to the will of the people who want to do away with it, that'd be great too. Because that's exactly what this DA is asking the legislature to ban, that particular part of what's under the lottery now.
Okay,
Right, he's not.
thank
He's
you.
not.
All right, Ms. Gretchen Corbin.
I heard that.
Ms. Corbin, I would like, if you would, to, well, introduce yourself first. Most people here know you, but let us know the general framework of this industry, when it started, what the sort of income streams and the state's cut are, and then I believe y'all did a pilot program on the gift cards. I want you to educate us briefly on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name's Gretchen Corbin. I'm the president and CEO of the Georgia Lottery Corporation. Thank you for the invitation to be here today. And thank you to all of our partners in the room. In regards to the industry specifics, the industry's been around for a long time. I think, as you know, we began regulating it. The state of Georgia decided that that the lottery would regulate it in 2014. Prior to that time, it was being regulated by the Department of Revenue. So we have been responsible for regulating since 2014 until this time. In regards to a pilot gift card, we heard very loud and clear that there was an interest of a gift card with the industry as a part of a redemption. We have heard we've heard many pieces on it. Obviously there's been legislation, and so we knew that it was our responsibility to do a pilot on that. We did a pilot this past year, and so the pilot ran November 2020 through June 2021 and included 148 locations throughout all areas of Georgia. The pilot did demonstrate that the gift card is administratively possible. I always say to you, Mr. Chairman, and to any other legislature, policy, bring it our way in statute, we will execute it. If there's any issue administratively, we will always let you know. We found that to do a pilot or to do a gift card, we can do administratively. I will state that, as you know, it was executed because of the dates during the pandemic. That was a unique snapshot in time based on lottery sales and also COAM sales during that time. So if we were to do something during a more normalized period of sales, our data might be different. That said, KPMG collected data and provided our observations. I recognize, Mr. Chairman, that it was a 1-hour meeting and that there were other people that were probably going to speak. So I basically took the study, looked at the executive summary, and wanted to provide that to you today. And the executive summary is that overall throughout the state, COAM play increased during the time of the pilot. And then when you looked at the locations where there were cards and where there were not cards, the percent growth of non-install groups, so locations where there were not cards, slightly exceeded, yes, where there were not cards, slightly exceeded percent growth of install growth in the areas of COAM money in, scratcher, and draw. And so when we looked at it, and again, we were only looking at 148 locations, but those 148 locations, COAM was up across the board in all of Georgia's locations. In those 148 locations, the COAM money in was down about 2% at that point.
Okay, so the places that had the gift cards generated less revenue than the places that did not.
Yes, sir, during that time period.
But
and
all of them went up during the pandemic.
Yes, sir. And I will say, when I went back and looked at my numbers just over the last day, what I recognized, as you could see, that very quickly when the cards were there, in those installs within the first 2 months, the sales came up and then they kind of came down.
Okay. Walk me through the profitability of these from 2014 when we cranked up the program till today, and make sure I understand how this works. My mental impression is that all of these machines are wired together.
Yes, sir.
And so they electronically report to the lottery the amount of money put in them to play, the amount of winnings, from which you can deduce or determine what's the cut that the state of Georgia gets, the lottery.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And am I right that currently the state gets 10% of the basically the winnings for the industry, the losings for the public?
10%?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Right. And where did just walk me through the progression of play, how that's increased since 2014?
Got a lot of information here. Let me get to those exact numbers, please. Haley, do you have those by chance? Yeah, may I see those?
You held off.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with 2016
That'd be
and then
fine.
go to 2021. So, and may I go bottom line to education? Is that what you're looking for?
Now, I want to know how much money was paid into the machines and what the profits were, and then the amount that goes to education.
Okay.
Give me the top line first, in other words, then the profitability, then your 10%.
Yes, sir. So, 2016, over $2 billion went in, and then 33.5 million came into education.
Okay.
So I'd need to multiply that for the profitability. In 2017, 2.2 billion went in, 47.5 to education. 2018, 2.4 billion, 58.1 to education. 2019, 2.6 billion, 66 million to education. 2020, 3 billion in, 91 million to education. In 2021, 4.5 billion in, and 145 million to education.
So do you know any explanation for that drastic jump the last year?
Well, the sales, right? I mean, when you look at the drastic jumps of the sales,
Yeah.
I would say that we experienced that with lottery as well.
Okay.
So we have followed COAM and lottery sales since day one, and they have trended pretty much the same. COAM has increased, as has lottery, but 2020, as y'all know, and 2021 specifically, was a huge year for traditional lottery, and it was a huge year for COAM as well.
Okay.
So,
All right, so if I've got your numbers right, did you say the total sales, and that's the play in these machines, was 4.5 billion in this most recent year?
yes, sir.
And so the profit to the industry was 1.5 billion or just below that?
Yes, sir.
And that the state of Georgia, the lottery, received 145 million.
Yes, sir.
And that goes, of course, to HOPE and pre-K programs. So when you're saying education, that's what you mean.
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the same time,
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, I apologize. I'm looking at my revenues, and those revenues also include licensing and details, fines and fees, central accounting system.
Okay.
And so if I were to back that up, I apologize. I want to make sure I get this right for you. 145, just in this past year, 2021, 4.5 billion in, 145 million to education, but through the central accounting system, so through play, 133 million.
okay. And so during that same year, your most recent year, what were lottery sales? Draw games and scratch-offs, your whole shebang.
5.6 billion.
And out of your 5.6 billion, how much went to education?
1.4 billion.
So somewhere between 26 and 27%.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is it accurate that there are 5,200 locations and roughly 30,000 machines that are licensed that are in play?
There are 5,900 locations and 31,000 machines.
Okay. Is there any limit to the number of machines that a master licensee can have?
Yes, sir. There are 9.
No,
Oh, excuse me, master. No, sir.
But a location, the max they can have is 9 machines.
Yes, sir.
Can that be lessened by municipal ordinances or not?
Yes, sir.
And what's the lowest that a city can allow?
I believe 6.
Okay. Senator Miller, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Why the increase over time? I mean, is it per machine increase, or is it across the board increase?
There have been a larger number of machines and a larger number of locations as well. And I think everybody would tell you differently, and we could guess at it.
So is the per machine production up? But there's just more machines, just a proliferation of machines, and that's the increase. But are the machines being played more, the individual machine? This machine right here, is it being played more this year than previous years? Do we know that?
I would need to defer that to the industry. I'd need to defer that question to the industry.
Okay.
Senator Gooch, you're recognized for a question. That'll be next.
Gretchen, thanks for being here. Would you say there's a direct correlation between the increase in playing and the amount of federal funding that came to all the citizens of Georgia?
No, sir, I would never say that.
You would never.
I would never make any assumptions like that.
No.
Good answer.
Can we? Your numbers were fascinating, but you went through them really quick. Can we get a copy of that information that she was just giving us?
Absolutely.
Will you hand that up to Amanda? She'll copy it right now. Amanda, where you at?
I'm finished.
Okay, you're done. Back to you, Senator Miller, then you, Senator Allen.
Along Senator Gooch's line of questioning, isn't everything is up? I mean, people are buying more of everything. Isn't consumer spending up
Yes, sir.
across the board? I don't care if it's widgets or gadgets. They're buying more of them, paying more for them.
Absolutely. And thank you for that prompting, because to go back to your question, you know, what I have said, whether it's lottery sales, and if we think that COAM sales are very similar to lottery sales, what we saw during the pandemic, during that time period, is a lot of play in Georgia. It could have been part of your question, could be the answer. We also think that we provided a very good form of entertainment during that time period. So we always said that we could almost follow, at least traditional lottery, we could almost follow Home Depot sales in Georgia. When everyone was at home doing projects, we were also seeing a lot of strong gaming. I have to say that, so yes, sir.
So this just reflected an increase in consumer spending, disposable income.
We definitely saw it, as others did.
Thank you.
Have you had an increase in the number of machines?
Yes, sir.
And what that number go from? You said you got over 30,000 now. What were they a couple of years ago?
I do not have that on me, but I can definitely get that to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Senator Albers, you're recognized.
Senator Gooch asked my question. Thank you.
Okay. So where I'm puzzled, it seems as if these COAM machines essentially are cannibalizing your lottery ticket sales. They're at the same locations that sell you tickets. And for the same amount of sales, same amount of dollars from Georgia citizens being played, you generate $1.5 million on your lottery and those products, and only $145 million on all the COAM machines. Does that,
Thank you, Amanda.
is that a concern? I mean, it just seems like you're competing against yourself with a much lower return.
Well, I would say that we have received that amount based on what is in legislation. And so that has been that 10%. In regards to, we have seen during that, since 2014, as you know, Mr. Chairman, we have seen lottery sales go up. And so I don't necessarily, I've never looked at that to see if there was a cannibalization. I don't think I could make that statement. I also would like to note that currently, I think it is important to, and I think we've said this, but redemption also does come in the form of lottery product. So if you play a COAM machine, you have the ability, as you've mentioned today, it cannot be currently alcohol, tobacco, firearms. It can be gas. It can be whatever's in the store. It could also be a lottery ticket. And so I think that we have seen some synergies as well.
Okay. So do you know what other states, what percentage of the profits of their COAM machines or integrated gaming, whatever they call them, what's the standard or the average that other states receive? Georgia gets 10%. What other states get?
I don't know.
Okay. Senator Miller.
It's fascinating, seriously. I mean, you had restaurants were closed, bars were closed, bowling alley was closed. You know, so I was looking for entertainment, so I went to the COAM machine. It's interesting to me. But spending was up just across the board. What does the lottery do? And I mean, just across the board, what do y'all do to support COAM versus lottery? I don't.
That's a very
Every
good.
night I see that goat breathing fire.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know where you got it.
Yeah. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
And Senator Miller, if I may go back to the chairman's question, because I never like to leave anything unsaid. I know, Mr. Chairman, I know we've had discussions about other states. I haven't gone back to do that research and come back, and I'll be happy to do that. I trust what you've told me, but I've never verified it.
Well,
So
I went to a conference, national conference of legislators from gaming states, and the first presentation was from Illinois, which is the home of Excel, which bought Tom's Amusement. And the very first speaker said that state gets a third. They divided a third, a third, a third, and it works beautifully for them there. And I know Oklahoma's the same, and I don't know what all the other states are, but I would think in your job you might be wanting to see where we stack up. But that's an awful lot of money being left on the table. If you just took a third of that $1.5 billion in profits, you would have had $500 million additional for lottery and pre-K in Georgia to essentially get to the national standard that would have still been only half or a third of the revenue you got from an equal number of sales in lottery tickets. So it would be trailing that drastically, but it would I don't think there'd be any reductions on the Hope scholarships any longer. We ought to be able to fully fund them if we had that income stream.
happy to provide that.
Okay.
Senator Miller, I apologize. Question was.
I forgot what my question was.
I think obviously people's patterns definitely changed during the pandemic.
Does the Lottery Corporation support? I mean, I know you advertise for the lottery. I've never seen I don't recall seeing advertising.
No, we don't. We don't. We recognize that we regulate COAM. It is not our product. And so we recognize that you have provided us with different responsibilities. And so we do work with our COAM advisory group. We've done some things to make sure on the machines that they know that players have the ability to know by stickers that these COAM machines are affiliated with the Georgia Lottery, and that profits have the ability to go to Hope and Pre-K. But in regards to marketing, we do not do that. And it's a very delicate balance. We always want to make sure that we're following the statute while being business friendly.
Is there anything about a gift card that would change your income? I mean, we keep hearing the gift card proponents say it allows them to track, play, et cetera. Would you need that in any way to make sure you're getting your 10%? Or is that based on the play, not how somebody gets paid out their prize?
Correct. I think that it's based on the play, so that would continue to go through the centralized accounting system.
So you know how much play there is, regardless of how the prizes are redeemed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Are there other committee members with questions? Senator Mullis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It looks like, according to this by the COAM, that you had a banner year this year. Is that correct? Or 2021?
Yes, sir.
And it looks like their revenues and your revenues continue to go up. 19 was a little less than 18, but other than that, it's a consistent climb in the revenue stream.
Yes, sir.
That's kind of outstanding.
Thank you.
I was shocked. Thank you for all your goodness.
Thank you.
And work.
You know, we've had our sparring over the years on the rate of return that the lottery gets. And I repeatedly said the statute says you guys ought to be making 35% profit, and right now it's just under 27.
Yes, sir.
But that's drastic improvement, by the way. Thank you over
Thank
the
you.
last few years. Do you know? So you know the payout on the scratch off or the big draw games automatically.
Yes, sir.
And that's revealed to the citizens that are participating in those games.
Yes, sir.
You can read the back of the card and it tells you got a 1 in 1.2 million chance or whatever it might be of hitting the
Yes, sir.
jackpot. Do you know what the payout is on these COAM machines?
No, sir.
And is that left up to the operators? They could have some that just really stick it to their customers and only pay out 50%, and some that paid 90% if they wanted to.
I would defer that question to an industry member that's coming up, but I believe, and please have this confirmed, or anyone correct me, but I believe that the master operator has that. Is that correct, or does the location also?
We'll get there. But
Okay.
from the lottery's perspective, you don't care. You don't control, you don't dictate, you don't have rules or procedures that tell them what rate of return, so to speak, they should get profit-wise and what amount ought to be returned to
Yes, sir.
players. Okay. You can almost figure the percentages by 4.5 billion played, 1.5 million profit, that they're about 35% of every dollar played in there is lost. It goes to the licensees and the state. Right?
Well, unless the players are winning big, and I don't get to play, so.
Well, if they are in the aggregate, we know last year it was 4.5 billion that they played and 1.5 billion that the owners of these machines and operators won from the players, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, you're helpful. Thank you, and please
Thank you.
don't leave.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
I do
members
need-
of the
I need to
committee.
hear from somebody from the industry. I might go a little bit out of order here. Emily Dunn. Emily, you here? Okay. Okay. I don't think so. Yeah, you go ahead.
She needs a quorum.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay, I want to thank Senator Dixon for bringing forward this good legislation, and also I want to thank you, Chairman Cowser, and members of the committee for being here today to hear us. My name is Emily Dunn. I've been an amusement game operator since 1984. I worked very hard alongside my husband for years building our business. Our daughters rode in the back of our car as we drove the North Georgia roads, visiting our locations and looking for new ones. It was a true family business. My husband tragically died almost 20 years ago, but my daughters and my devoted family of employees banded with me to keep the business moving ahead. I'm the CEO of Tom's Amusement Company, and my daughter works as our family's fourth generation in this industry as Vice President of Strategy. Our core group of employees have over 400 collective years of experience in the Georgia COAM business. We can testify to the fact that Georgia is the #1 state to do business and want it to stay that way. I work hard in many capacities for our state as the chairman of the COAM Advisory Board, as well as the chairman of our State Transportation Board. I have served as president of our National Trade Association and have gained great insight into our industry on a state and national level. In 2013, I was part of shaping a successful piece of legislation called House Bill 487, which our good friend Senator Miller carried. It brought about a positive change for Georgia as it raised the level of sophistication and increased oversight over our industry. I believe it's time for you to give us more tools to improve our industry. COAM is a complementary addition for the lottery, just like it is for our locations. It's the best opportunity that the lottery has to increase their revenue. It is more technology, which the lottery has used also with their digi games, so it's just another complement for the lottery. I have been all over the United States and seen other markets, and I will tell you, you were questioning about Illinois. Illinois is first of all, Georgia is a very unique market. We do raise money for our hope. Illinois is a cash payout state. Most states are a cash payout. That is, in my opinion, that is more like a gambling situation. We have not expanded gambling here in Georgia, and that split would be completely disruptive to our industry, but also to the lottery as well.
Here's where I'm confused.
Okay.
If I get cash, a $100 bill paid out from a machine, or I get a debit card for $100, how is that different than cash? I mean, this card is a cash equivalent, can be spent anywhere cash can be.
Right. Well,
No, I'll hold it, thank you.
I think it's a lot different. The way that the card can be used, if there's more accountability, and one thing I think we've looked at different options of anonymous cards versus cards that can be reloadable. The reloadable would identify and you would know who your player is. It would not lend itself to being treated like cash.
They can be spent like cash is my point. And that's
Well-
why y'all want them, because you think it will increase your sales, because people don't have to get potato chips and candy bars anymore. Now they can go buy anything they want.
They can, and that expands our business and the lottery's revenue by being able to go into locations that are not what you would call your common locations in the past. I will tell you, the gentleman that talked earlier about the dark room and hidden room and all that, I have been in this business for 38 years. I have not seen anything like that since 2013. That sounds like the Wild West back when South Carolina was open. That is exactly how it was, and that was 20 and 30 years ago. Today is a whole different thing. We are working very hard with the lottery. They do a good job of regulating. I will tell you, and Gretchen can testify to this, in our COAM advisory board meetings, we get a report every quarter or every month or whenever we want it about citations. And the citations have continued to go down. There are still some, and some are very minor, like forgetting to put buy a tax stamp or a location that doesn't know the law that they have to have a license or something like that. But even the raids that we hear about from the GBI themselves are not that common. I mean, you can count them on one hand. I think every year. It's not that much. So the games are supposed to be in the open air, so where people can see them. The lottery does an excellent job of doing that and keeping and even with local control and local help from local sheriffs. We use the local sheriffs to help monitor our games. So if you find a room with games, they're already breaking the law if they're hidden away. I just cannot hardly even imagine that. So
I'm going to let Senator Gooch ask you a question. I'm afraid I'm about to lose quorum here.
Yeah, I've got a committee meeting I
Okay.
have to take a vote on. Can you tell us who your typical users are and your typical locations?
yes, my typical.
You for one.
No, it's not legislators, but maybe every now and then. But no, my customer is really your average hardworking person. It might be a beautician, it might be a contractor, electrician. It could be school teachers. I've had many school teachers, and they love it when they retire. They that's a form of entertainment. And I would tell you, when the income raised, I believe that during COVID, our games and the lottery were a form of entertainment because bowling alleys were closed, movie theaters were closed, all that kind of thing. And I'm sorry? Beauty parlors, I know. So I will tell you that
Your location is mostly C-stores or?
No, it will be pizza places, restaurants, bowling alleys, movie theaters. We have everything, even grocery stores.
Okay.
And that's why we want this card, so that they can, although that they can redeem for groceries, but it would be so much easier because people want to go to Walmart. That's one of the beauties of this, and I know that Ms. Corbin over here has probably gotten really tired of me saying this during our things, but to me, this is a sales tax issue. It helps locals, it helps E-Splost, T-Splost, it helps everything.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Okay, I'm going to tell you one other thing. This bill will significantly increase our compliance, our transparency, and help grow our revenue. I will say I have one comment. It hurts me a little bit to be heard as called that I'm in a business that is considered a cancer. But I will tell you that a cancer, you treat it. And that is exactly what you would be doing here, is you're treating it. You would not ignore it. And I just think that this is a really good bill. It will help our veterans. It just helps the entire market move ahead. So Thank you very much.
So what's the cancer?
I don't know. He referred to it earlier.
But no, you said treat it. What do you see places that need reform or treatment?
We
or care?
need help being more with more enforcement and transparency, and that card gives us that transparency. It does not lend itself to I don't know, corruption, I guess.
You said there's only been a handful of instances of that corruption anyway, right?
There is, but also it gets back into the inducement. That is such a complicated issue. We have had a hard time coming to a consensus within the industry on the inducement. It's very complicated and it's hard to regulate. I think anybody can tell you that. We all have strong feelings about it, and in my mind, one of the things that I think in 2013, the bill, that what it did was give us a level playing field with the locations. This keeps us for being partners. You start getting inducements, and that does not increase the levelness of the playing field.
You know, this bill doesn't include any provisions about.
I know that. I told you we have not come to a consensus, and we are just trying to take the things that we know will help. We've narrowed it down. Last year, I think our bill was over 30 pages. This one is much shorter. It is much more concise. It has been heavily vetted, not only by the industry, but legislators, attorneys, even within this building. We want to improve things, and we have picked 4 things that we believe will help the most. Next year, we'll work on something else.
Okay.
So I hope you'll be a part of it.
Well, thank you. We're working towards you. I'm going to, yes, you got a question?
It's not a question so much as an observation. I like that theory of taking a little bite of the apple at a time.
Yes.
Come up with something you can accomplish and take care of that, and then try to take care of issues. If you come with these huge bills, omnibus bills, you know, we rarely see those pass. I mean, they fail. And so this policy or this theory or this practice of getting a little bite of the apple and making sure that you're moving things in the right direction. Thank you.
Well, we did that specifically because of what we heard from you last year. The bill last year was very complicated. It was very difficult to understand if you did not have deep knowledge of the industry. This year, we think it's simple. We think it is very easy to understand, and we think it does good things. It is not negative, and it is not contentious.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to take just a minute and discuss the substitute, and then I've got a list of people. I want everybody to have a chance to be heard, but I also, we've got to be mindful of time. I'm losing members left and right. Some have said they'll be back, and it may be we have to have a voting meeting tomorrow morning if we don't get through, but there are significant changes in the committee sub, and that's in your folder. Make sure I got the right number. So the one that we'll be working off of with the author's consent is LC 365256S. Y'all got that in your folder. There's also a summary of that by Senate Research. It doesn't really throw a lot of new verbiage in, but it makes very significant changes to the original proposal. Senator Miller, you're talking about small bites. This makes it a much smaller bite. It deletes the gift card provisions so that those would not be permitted. It does include the increase on the Class A games to $50 redemption. It does exempt out to VFWs and other fraternal organizations from the 50% rule. So you could generate more than 50% of the income from one of those fraternal organizations through the COAM machines would be allowed to do. They'd be the same, no changes. The other significant change that it makes, 2 other significant changes. One is it makes it clear that these would not be permitted in places that sell alcohol by the drink. As you just heard, the current law would permit, I mean, the original of this, but yes, sir, Senator Lucas.
Most VFW have a liquor license.
They do. You can't trade your winnings in for liquor.
You say trade the winning in for liquor. If you got the gift card, then the gift card basically takes the cash out of the hand because the cash went into a machine, and whatever you put in, or the less amount of money you put in, but your winnings are greater than what you put in, you get a card for the winning.
Right. Right now,
I thought the card would take care of all of it. If you had to pay, then you would pay the sales tax when you use the card.
well, that's all true, but the current law prohibits you from purchasing alcohol, tobacco products, or firearms with your winnings.
Right, but
And the card had it, that provision had a part in that provision removed that prohibition and allowed you to spend the cards on anything. So that's back. You still can't spend it on alcohol.
you just got to be of age.
Right. True. The other significant change is the split of the profits, and that's in section 5 of the committee sub. And it takes it to something closer to the national standard, where the lottery, which is the corporation we're referencing, would get 30% of the receipts. The location licensee would get 35%, and the master licensee would get 35%. So those two operators would get 10% less than they've been getting, because you've seen this industry more than double. Their profits have gone crazy.
The question I have, Mr. Chairman, is why would we raise it when they pay the highest taxes on Conan, period? Conan machine pay the highest taxes to the state, period.
No, they pay the very lowest. The state's only getting 10% of that, whereas they get 27, 26, or 7 of lottery sales.
Well, you talk about $145 million that Conan put in the lottery, outside of about 9 or 12 million that they for license, decals, and all of that. So the lottery get welfare off the Conan machine. So why do we raise the taxes? Because you got the state, then you got the master license, who has a business license and pays insurance, and then you got the store owner, who they split. He got to pay a license fee to run the store in the city, as well as insurance and all of that. So my question is, why are we raising it when the lottery is getting plenty of money out of Coin?
Well, I think one way to answer that would be if you look at this as one big pot of gaming revenue. Part of it's being spent on lottery, part of it's being spent on COAM. They're both products offered by the Lottery Corporation. And if that entire $10 billion currently was being played only on lottery scratch-offs and other games other than the COAM, well, then the state would be getting 27% of that.
You would not be getting to play off the lottery. I mean, people play lottery, don't play co-ed. And you have 3 sections of the lottery. We went to 3 sections. So I see folks going in the store, paying spending $300 midday, $300 evening, and then $300 at night. That's $900 in a day. I keep wondering, well, where you get all this money from? What kind of job you got? You know, I mean, that's what happens.
And there are also some sitting on those machines playing $1,000 a day. I mean, these machines are generating profit of close to $150 per machine per day. So I mean, it's how you want to look at it, and what this is looking at is getting it in line with the national standards, what other states do. And these very same players in the industry are participating in those markets happily.
I looked at it. I was in the bus business. I used to stop at Flyers, made South Carolina. They used to have machines on the side. You could win a shotgun, playing machine, those kind of things. But you got paid cash.
Good. So let's hear some other, well, I can tell you this is, when you work this committee process, committee chairmen are sometimes limited in what they're allowed to come to a vote. And I will tell you that the Lieutenant Governor is very insistent that there not be cash payments and that there should be a fair return to the state. And this is an attempt to comply with those directives and move this issue. And it may be that it isn't what the industry even wants without those things. Maybe they want that big of a bite and are unwilling to go forward without it. Did I have a question, Senator Muller? So just movement. Okay. All right, let's get swatted. I'm gonna let everybody else that wants to be heard. Mr. Himal Patel from Atlanta Game World.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of committee. My name is Himal Patel. I'm representing my company, Atlanta Game World. I'm also a member of the COIM Advisory Board. I was appointed approximately 4 years ago. I want to start off by saying thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for allowing me to speak up here. I also want to take a second to acknowledge the hard work and the dedication you give to the state. Lots of unseen hours goes behind the scenes, so thank you to all of you. I want to start off by giving a little background about how I got started in this industry. A few years ago, I was in the restaurant business. Initially, it did well, and then due to the economy and other factors that were out of my control, it was hard to sustain the business, and we were living paycheck to paycheck. We had just bought a home, and we had a little baby girl. I was working from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every night. One evening I got home and I saw a $20,000 credit card bill, and I said to my wife, we don't have money. Why is this racked up? We went through each of the credit card bills. It was for groceries and supplies for my daughter. We both sat there and cried, and I said, never again. I called up a friend who was in the COIM industry, and I said, would you offer me a part-time job? And I said, I'll work hard. At 10 o'clock at night, I would close my business, get changed in the restroom, and go out to work. I would go out in bars, restaurants, convenience stores, whatever was open. But I had to be mindful to be back home by 1:30 a.m. because my wife would go to work at 2 a.m. and she worked from 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. because we didn't have money for a babysitter. And during those years, what got me through was the book that I read in high school in England was John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, which said the roads in America are made out of gold. And I really believe that the roads in Georgia are made out of gold. I worked hard. I care about this industry. I care about this state. And I care about the Hope Scholarship. The Hope Scholarship is the gateway, is the window for every Georgian to dream about their little boys, little girls, getting into college, becoming doctors, pharmacists, business owners. Today I had invited a location owner of mine. They are a married couple running a restaurant. Unfortunately, the lady had a doctor's appointment with her neurologist and was not able to come, but she has sent a letter. Mr. Chairman, if I have your permission, I'd like to read that.
That'd be fine.
Dated March 7, 2022. Respected Chairman and members of committee. My name is Vivian Dean. Me and my husband, Louis Dean Jr., are owners of Magnolia Lounge located in Forest Park. This is a family-owned bar and restaurant. I am 68 years old, and my husband is 60 years old. Our lifelong dream of owning our own business came true in late 2018. We both take a lot of pride in our business and have worked hard to make sure our doors stay open. We both work open to close to make sure the lights stay on and our dreams do not die. We have suffered a great deal over the past couple of years with COVID, and only God's strength has kept us going. It has been hard to pay day-to-day bills and to keep the business and our dreams open. At the end of last year, we added 3 game machines to our business to help us stay open. This has certainly helped, but we really need the gift card. Having the gift card will help increase revenues and help us pay for our ongoing business costs. We respectfully request your support in approving the gift card. We both are here to answer any questions that you may have. They've provided a cell phone number. Respectfully, Vivian and Louise Dean Jr. So, Mr. Chairman and members of this committee, I almost urge you to help small business owners like me and many others. People like Vivian and Dean are working hard, the hardworking Georgians. They need the support of our legislators to keep this industry moving. In closing, I'd like to say that the gift card is not only a benefit that I see to the COAM industry, but it's an opportunity for our fintech technology to grow, expand our technology base in Georgia. In closing, I want to say a big thank you to Ms. Gretchen Corbin of the Georgia Lottery Corporation. She's been very kind with her time and always approachable. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, appreciate you sharing with us today. Joel Willis, VFW, American Legion.
Good evening. I'm Joe Willis, the commander of Veterans of Foreign Wars and the state legislator for the also Veterans of Foreign Wars and American Legion. We strongly recommend and hope that this is passed. The revenue that will come in from here will be great for our industries, for our posts, and for our families. The Veterans of Foreign Wars, we have over 100 posts, and I see one of our members here, one senator. Hello, Senator. We have over 100 posts. American Legion have over 100 posts. But unfortunately, our revenue basis has changed. One of our revenue bases used to be bingo. Our new millennials that's coming back don't see bingo as being attractive or bringing them into our industries and bringing them to our post. The most significant thing that we're having is what we're trying to do is have these skilled games of chance brought into our industries and to our post. And then we're also going to have, along with that, different video things. We're trying to bring it to the family. What we do, and with this revenue and increase the revenue, because right now we're dying. Posts are closing down. We have over 30 to 40 posts closed down. When they close down, they affect the community. Not only does it affect the veteran and their family, they affect the whole community. Because the Veterans of Foreign Wars, not only do we do for veterans, we do for Boy Scouts, we do for the Student Veterans Association, we do for the community, we do for high schools, middle schools, we go out for the elderly, we go for the nursing homes. The whole spectrum of the community for this great state, the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the American Legion touches. And I hence to say that everybody in here is touched by a veteran. Mother, father, sister, brother, uncle, or grandfather, everybody in this great state. The Veterans of Foreign Wars, along with Georgia, and in 3 years, as being one of the national representatives also, in 3 years, Georgia will be the 3rd highest state of veterans. We have we have the most female veterans in the nation in the state of Georgia. The highest. But what we need to do, and why we're having this and wishing this bill to be supported, is because we need to have a place for our veterans to go to. We need to have a place for our families to go to. And this revenue, or this sense of revenue, will keep our doors open. to keep our doors open and to keep the veterans, the families, and the community active and working together. So that's why I stand here as the commander of the Veterans of Foreign War for this great state of Georgia, saying that we want this bill passed. Thank you.
Does it matter to you what percentage the state receives versus these license holders?
No, sir.
As you would be a location license holder.
Yes, sir.
Would 35% be agreeable
Yes,
to
sir.
your organizations?
Yes,
Are
sir.
you okay with the bill if there are no gift cards involved? Just as long as we give you the flexibility to have
Yes.
less than half your profits come from whatever other things you sell?
Yes, sir. I spoke to the commanders prior to coming here for all the organizations,
Right.
and yes.
That's great. Senator Harbison is a veteran.
Yes, he
has
is.
a question for you.
Thank you. I just want to let you know how much I appreciate your comments and the reason for your comments, because truly, the VFW, I'm a life member of both those organizations, and what you do for the community, positive influence when you get back from active duty, you go in the community and you're trained up and you're ready and you become very productive citizens. So I just want to let you know that I advocate for you every day. We just want to let you know we appreciate your service and whatever you do, and thank you for commenting today about this potentially good bill that will have a good impact. Keep the doors open, but more importantly, the transportation aspect of it too. You go out and get a lot of sick
Yes.
veterans. They're old, they're sick, they can't get around, and you provide that transportation. So
Yes,
thank you
Senator.
very much.
We
for
do
that.
have Meals on Wheels, and we also have a transportation, our disabled veterans, DAV, where we actually go to the veterans' homes, especially in the rural areas, and we take them to clinics. We take them to hospitals. And not only the veterans, but the veterans' family members also.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
Drew Keenan, you're on the list also for veterans. Anything you need to add, or is that satisfactory to move us along?
I'm a different organization and coalition.
Okay. Do you have a different view about the legislation?
Not a different view, but I would like to make some comments.
Come ahead.
Some of the comments that have been made earlier.
Come right ahead.
Thank you, sir.
I was just trying to shortcut a little bit if I could.
I appreciate that. And I'll make the comments.
Well, that's fine. If you made the effort to be here, we'd like to hear what you got to say.
Thank you, sir. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, members. My name is Drew Keenan. I'm the Executive Director of the Veterans Coalition. The Veterans Coalition is made up of 27 veteran service organizations in the state of Georgia. Our membership exceeds 2.5 million members in the state of Georgia. We are in support of the bill to including the Visa gift card and including the 50/50 exemption. As it was stated earlier by Commander Willis, bingo is not a millennial game, okay? And the revenues of the VFW, American Legion, DAV, the fraternal organizations such as the Moose and the Elk that do bingo in the state, they're seeing the revenues as the demographic ages. They're seeing those revenues decrease, and that's causing the closure of the posts. The COAM machines would be a tremendous boost to the, I'm sorry about being so close to Mike. The COAM machines would be a tremendous boost to that income, and would replace that depreciating income at the individual VSO. But I'd like to address some of the comments that have been made earlier. One by the first speaker, the elegant gentleman from the GBI. A person doesn't have to play a COAM machine to go get a drink. A person doesn't have to play a COAM machine to buy tobacco or to get a gun. As a matter of fact, if they're putting money in the COAM machine, they have less money to buy a drink or buy tobacco or a gun. It's entertainment, okay? It's that should be regulated, but we serve our veterans and our communities, and for these organizations to go away and be something, be a footnote in history, would be a tremendous disadvantage to the state of Georgia and to the communities that they serve. The coalition, being something of the NRA for veterans as it grows, we report Our only job, we are not congressionally chartered like the VSOs. So we are allowed to editorialize. We are allowed to, and our only mission is to report on veterans legislation, not only here in the state of Georgia, but nationally. But here in the state of Georgia, we report to our 2.5 million members and to our 27 service organization members on legislation that affects veterans only, veterans and their families. And we report 4 times a year how the legislators voted when it came to Veterans Affairs, with a report card of A through F. That is our mission, okay? We need this bill passed with the provisions of the Visa gift card or the gift card and the 50/50 exemption. When I came home from Vietnam, I'm 70 years old. It is so important to me. I should be fishing at Juno Beach in West Palm, but I'm here, okay? When I came home from Vietnam, I was 20 years old. I was stationed with the 95th Evac Hospital as Medical Corps, 95th Evac Hospital in Da Nang. And after being in Vietnam for a year and a half, rotating with the dust-off guys and triage, I came home and found that in my hometown of Brooklyn, I was considered too young to have a drink. I wasn't too young to go to war, but I was too young to have a drink. And that's a slap in the face. I urge this committee, don't slap us in the face again. Don't put artificial restrictions on us. They're going to go buy the tobacco. They're going to go buy the liquor. They're going to go buy the gun. If they can't do it in the COAM machine, then they'll go do it off-track betting, or they'll go on their cell phone and they'll bet on the next football game or the next play. If they want to gamble, they'll gamble. If they want to use these entertainment machines, they'll use them. They'll continue to go to that theoretical gas station that I've never seen, but the theoretical gas station. They'll find the machines, and they'll play them. Or they'll go to Alabama, or they'll go to another state, and that state will get the revenue. I lived in California for 30 years. You know where I went? Vegas. You know where everybody in California went? Vegas. Nevada does well. California's in a deficit. Simple economics, 101. The people will play those games. So I urge the committee, look on your veterans. Thank you, sir. Any questions?
A couple questions.
Yes.
So are you saying that none of these VFWs or other type of military veteran institutions have any COAM machines now? They just had bingo.
The amount of the COAM machines, the census of COAM machines in the VSOs, we had the machines in there. They were in most of our posts that had had post homes. But then we used to pay it out with Walmart gift cards and stuff like that. And then the rule changed, and you had to go to a catalog or in-house products, okay? And nobody's going to come to an American Legion post or a Veterans of Foreign Wars post and put $50 or $60 in a gambling machine to get $20 out of it and then go play bingo with it, okay? It's ludicrous, okay? So the machines went away. The revenue went down and posts started to close. I think last year, Commander Willis referenced 30 VFW posts that closed because their revenue got to the point that they couldn't support the post anymore.
Well, it's very sad if that's the only thing that keeps these veterans organizations going is gambling activities. If bingo's no longer popular, they've got to find some other gambling action. And what did you guys do beforehand?
Well, my post has 2681 was chartered in 1948, and they've been playing bingo ever since.
But don't they have dinners and bars and other things that let the veterans
Yeah,
socialize?
but the canteens, okay, you have a different warfighter here, sir. This is, I'm a Vietnam vet, like I said, okay, and those guys, you went to the American Legion or the VFW posts back in 1960 or 1970, or the Korean War, World War II guys. My father was a member of the VFW in Brooklyn all his life, World War II. And they all sat around the bar and tried to convince each other that Patton was their driver. Okay, but the current, I'll be here all week. No, the current, can I get a ride?
No, I'm going to tell you what, though. I need Senator Harbison to tell you, you're a Vietnam vet. What happened today in Vietnam? How many years ago was that? You were there.
57 years ago, I believe it was.
What was this? What's today the anniversary of?
This is March 8, 1965, the day we invaded Vietnam. 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines, and followed by the major combat was by an Army outfit, Rangers, about a month later, and they lost some men pretty good on that. But this is an anniversary of that landing, March 8, 1965.
So I spent 4 years in the Navy Medical Corps and then got out and went to work for the Veterans Administration Hospital in La Jolla as Assistant Chief of Ambulatory Care. And then got called back in because of critical rate and the war wasn't going well. And they put me with the Marines, and I was air traffic, air flight med crew for 3 years at El Toro in California. We've been being slapped in the face. Veterans have had to fight for every single thing that we've gotten, for going all the way back to the Spanish-American War, which is why the VFW was founded.
Well, you're an honorable man, and we appreciate your service.
All right.
Appreciate you being here. I got to let a few other people
Yes,
share
sir.
their thoughts.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for being with me. Kyle Shepard, Lucky Coin, and then Josh Belafonte will be next. Yes, sir.
Your question about
Hang on, let me get you lit up. There you go.
your question about what happened to VFWs and what's going for the veteran service organizations. I missed these guys, period, by a matter of months, a matter of just a few months. And I noticed that as a child, as a young man, before I was 18 and up until I was in my early 20s, there was no drink served in my county or any of the surrounding counties. The only place you could get a drink or a nice meal was at a VFW or was at an American Legion.
That's true.
But when we started selling mixed drinks and had nicer restaurants, it created competition for those organizations. And I think that's basically the decline of myself. But anyway, just a thought.
All
Thanks.
right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee. My name is Kyle Shepard with Lucky Coin. I am a master license holder from Tucker, Georgia. I wanted to tell you guys that my grandfather started my company almost 30 years ago. And so I'm a third generation operator. And this industry, chasing my grandfather around is how I learned to add, is how I learned to multiply. It's how I learned to count. And as I've gotten older, this industry has allowed me to provide for my wife and my children. And my dream is to build a business that I can be proud of, that my family can be proud of, that one day I can hand down to my children and my grandchildren 30 years from now. And I just want to go on record as saying that I think Senator Dixon's version of this bill is the best way to do that.
All right. Any questions? Thank you for being with me.
Yes, sir.
Josh Belafonte.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Josh Belafonte. I practice law with the Robbins firm. I also work with Robbins Government Relations. I've worked in the COAM space mostly as a lawyer since 2013 when Governor Deal, through Senator Miller, passed the bill that brought the games out of the gray market and made them legal, and has really, I think, as you've heard, benefited the lottery and the Hope Scholarship tremendously. I'm going to spend just a little bit of time trying to answer some of the questions that were asked too from a master's perspective or an operator's perspective. That's who I spend most of my time representing. There was comparisons made to Illinois and Oklahoma. Both of those states, as you've heard, effectively have, no kidding, slot machines in the machines. There's no limit on the amount you can win. They're called Class 3 games, and in Oklahoma it's tribal. So it's a totally different kind of market than we have in Georgia, where you're limited to $5 per win per play. There was a question about what is the amount of payout, It varies. It's typically 75 to 90% is the payout in the machines. That really comes down to the manufacturer and the type of game that is bought and the type of game by the master and the type of game that is used in the store. There was a question about illegal inducements and does this bill address it? Not expressly, and we are certainly working with a group to try to do that, but I'll point this out. The bill does put the lottery under the Administrative Procedures Act. There is existing law prohibiting inducements, and under the APA there could be rules put in to further clarify that rule. It's a power that the lottery doesn't currently have that would allow it to address that through a more informal practice so that we didn't have to come to the legislature every time there was an issue. There was a last 2 points I'll make. One was why is the gift card important to the industry? I will say 3 things. Last year in this committee you heard testimony from an association that said its members pay cash. Its members take inducements. It is an unfair marketplace, and the gift card levels the playing field. So when you have one store paying cash to customers and the store across the street isn't, the gift card levels that playing field, and it removes the inducement, or it removes the incentive to pay cash, because you're going to be attracting players the same way that you would, and it wouldn't be through breaking the law. Finally, there was a question about gaming in Georgia, and I think one of the previous speakers said this. Let's be honest. If I wanted to place bets in Georgia, I've got a phone. I can go to DraftKings and FanDuel or things like that, and I can bet on sports right now. I can do it. I can bet on single tennis matches. I can bet on single NASCAR players. I can bet on golf. None of that goes to Georgia. None of that goes to the Hope Scholarship. This does. And so when we talk about what we can do in Georgia, and I certainly appreciate and understand, Mr. Chairman, the concern about playing at the bar and using the money to buy things at the bar, but we see that too. If I go and want to play trivia night, I can use that bar credit right there every single time. And so there are things that can be concerned, but I do want to emphasize that the Administrative Procedures Act that the lottery would have gives it more flexibility that it has to address some of these things. And we would urge you to vote for Senator Dixon's bill as it is, and certainly be happy to answer any questions you have.
All right, so why not just cut the charade and go straight to cash? Illinois allows cash payments, right?
Illinois does allow cash payments.
Why don't we level the playing field by simply allowing everybody to pay cash? The state still gets their same cut.
We're not asking for that in terms of paying cash. We're not asking to raise the $5 limit per game. It's not something the industry is looking to do. It is an amusement type game, and that's what distinguishes it from the Class 3 games in Illinois, Oklahoma, New York, some of the other states that you see with the much higher tax rates.
But is there a public policy reason why you shouldn't allow people to get cash instead of a card that is equal to cash?
I would suggest that the card is still in some ways different than cash. I understand. I'm not going to say they're completely dissimilar. I'm not going to say that at all. But the public policy reason, if the legislature wanted to go to a full-blown cash market, it would be something certainly I think the industry could look at, but it's just not what we're asking to do.
Okay.
Certainly we've seen that debate is happening on other bills currently pending and that have been discussed by the legislature.
But it would level the playing field. It would answer that concern.
It is one way to level the playing field. It is not the only way, I would suggest.
Do you think it would increase the amount of play if you were allowed to pay in cash?
It probably would.
And that's part of your client's concerns, is that there are people paying cash that are getting more players than they're able to get playing within the rules.
Well, it's a couple things. I mean, that's certainly one of them, that it provides an incentive to break the law. But two, as an industry, no industry, and I represent several, no industry wants to come here and have to defend bad actors in their own industry. And we don't want that practice to create a black eye for what you've heard is largely family businesses that have been operating in Georgia for a significant amount of time.
So you don't see paying in gift cards as a black eye just like paying in cash would be?
Not if the legislature authorizes it. Absolutely not.
Same thing if we authorize cash. It would no longer be illegal.
Right. No, my position is, and sorry if this wasn't clear, paying cash in and of itself isn't the black eye. Breaking the law, as you heard in testimony last year, is the black eye. And that's one of the things we are, as an industry, are seeking to stop.
Okay. Other questions for Mr. Belinfante? Senator Miller.
Sorry to take up so much of your time, Mr. Chairman.
We got all
so is there an advantage to the card wouldn't we be sure we were capturing sales tax on the card versus cash? If I get cash, I'm liable to put it away anywhere. If I got a card, I can only use it someplace that's going to charge me sales tax, right?
Correct. You could only use
Am I wrong? I'm not sure if I'm...
No, that's correct. And even if I were to sell my card, as was the example given earlier, ultimately that card's
Somebody
going to
gets
be
the sales tax.
That's
Gotcha.
correct. That's
Okay,
correct.
thanks.
We do anything to collect income tax from these winners?
Oh, now we're talking.
I believe.
I mean, if I win Mega
sure.
Millions tonight, I'm going to get it withheld. What do we do to withhold money from these people?
Did she tell you the number?
Gretchen's the most popular person in here.
Yeah. The most honest answer, Mr. Chairman, is I don't know. I know at some level there's a trigger that we've seen in other states, and a 1099 would issue. I know the lottery does that currently for a certain amount of wins if you win a big game on the lottery. I don't know the answer to that in the COAM context, but I'd certainly find out and get it to you.
Well, my understanding, y'all straighten me if I'm wrong, is that we do not in any way withhold winnings. Gift certificates that are being given for merchandise in the store, anything, don't get reported to the Georgia Department of Revenue. Illinois, on the other hand, I think the level's somewhere over $1,200. They do withhold if you win that kind of money.
I think that's right. In Illinois, the pure gambling state, there is a formal 1099 model that kicks in. I know that I've had conversations with folks about that, and there are some details I can provide you, but there is a different level in Illinois because of the cash payout and the way that it is transferred to the customer.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheila Humberstone, we've only got about 3 more people, so everybody be patient.
Good evening.
Sure.
Thank you for allowing me to speak with you today. My name is Sheila Humberstone with Stonebridge Consulting here today on behalf of Angela Holland, who thought maybe you needed a break from her face in this committee and the Georgia Association of Convenience Stores. To be truthful, I appreciate Mr. Belenfante's comments, but let me be very clear that the stores that he referenced that acknowledge that they accept inducements and pay cash are not the stores that I represent. And that is part of the problem. If you can get cash from a convenience store on one side of the street or Slurpees on the other side of the street, then people are going to go to the facility that pays cash. To be truthful, that is same store because they're a high volume location and they're doing well, they are most likely to be in a relationship with a master license who would be giving them an illegal inducement. And so we believe that the allowance of a gift card is the single best tool to help level the playing field, which you've heard us talk about in this committee on other issues. We're not afraid to compete. We just want it to be level and to clean up the industry. 2 points that I'd like to make is in 161235 and in 502770, we already allow for a gift certificate. And I would argue that the difference between a gift certificate and a gift card is negligible at best. We're just not in the days.
It has to be redeemed at the location.
That's right. So it originally, though, I don't believe it had to be done on site. It's my understanding that during the Barnes administration, they clamped down on that and they wanted that to be done on site. That presents a couple of problems too. For a large chain, that also means that you can't accept your winnings at retail store 1 and fill up. Now maybe today you can probably use all of your winnings to fill up a tank of gas, but in the old days you might not have been able to do that, and so then you wouldn't be able to drive down the road for 2 hours, fill up again, and use that same gift certificate. And so there are other reasons too for allowing that off-premises redemption. The other really important piece of this bill is the APA. That has been important to the convenience stores and frankly I think to the master license since 2013 when 487 passed. We are a regulated entity and it is nice to be able to have a voice at the table, to have public notice for rules changes, to have an option for public comment both in person and writing, and to make sure that those rules and regs go to the committees of jurisdiction so that there is some vetting of that process. We've not had an issue that we have not been able to deal with the Georgia Lottery. They've been phenomenal to work with, but we do think the APA is something that would provide us a lot of confidence going forward. And so with that, I will stand for any questions.
We're talking about 2 different things. We're talking about cash payouts to winners and illegal inducements, right?
But I do think they're linked, right? Because a store that continually pays out in cash is probably going to drive more customers to that particular store. And then master licensees, disreputable master licensees are more likely to give those under the table payments to be able to get that location because it is so well performing.
The illegal inducement we're talking about is if a master licensee pays more money to an operator to place their machines there, more than their 45% under the current law.
Sure, or even before they hook their machines up to get into a contract with that location.
You know, some states don't dictate the split between the masters and the operators. They dictate that a third goes to the state and let them just contractually arrange how they want to do it. You got a problem with that?
So I think, you know, when we drafted this back in 2013, the thought is, particularly because it's a cash market, is to make sure that there's plenty of checks and balances to know that everybody is reporting the right amount of their company's income tax and everything else. And if it's level, then certainly even the lottery, and while they don't act as an auditor by any means in a business sense, but they know what each side of that equation is getting. And so there's just more folks from the government perspective that understand where that cash is tracking in the system and who gets it.
Okay, questions? Senator Miller.
At the appropriate time, Mr. Chairman, I think we've exhausted all the conversation on here. I just ready to make a motion. At the appropriate time.
Okay. I've got some pressure from members leaving. All right, so we will receive any motion as to substitute to SB 536. That's LC 365256S.
So moved. Move due pass.
Got a move due pass by committee substitute, a second by Senator Harbison. Any further discussion on that?
I had to vote for the committee substitute. How did I do that?
You raise your hand and say yes.
I don't really want to.
You don't have to. I know you're against gambling.
I'm for all of it.
It's easy when there's no primary, isn't it? Okay.
I'd say that either.
Any further discussion? All in favor of Senator Miller's motion do pass by committee substitute to SB 536, LC 365256S, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses. Any noes? And 1 no from our rules chairman. This may never see the floor. All right. Hold on 1 second. I am going to allow you guys are free to go if you want to, but Karen Bremer, if you want to be heard, Les Snyder and Sean Fellows, because this debate is going to continue within this building, and we're not going to be taking more testimony probably. Thank you. Sure. Thank you.
Good afternoon or good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee members. I will be brief. I'm not going to belabor the point that my industry, the restaurant industry, has been one of the main industries besides healthcare that has been devastated over the past 2 years. The COAM machines are a relatively new revenue stream for my industry. There are restaurants that are using them, and they are helping to make up deficits. A machine that can generate $50,000 in pure profit for the restaurant from one seat.
I'm listening.
Thank you. I came here to be in support of it. We would support the cash, we would support the gift cards, and also I would respectfully ask that y'all take a look at that term with distilled spirits. This is not a bill, this is not a product that all of our restaurants are using. Fast food, quick service, no. Fine dining, I don't think you're gonna see a COAM machine at Bones. I don't know, just saying. But it's really for more of the casual sports type bars that tend to cater to a male clientele, so to speak, and I think that saying if we're opposed to distilled spirits, maybe put language in here to not allow the businesses that are defined as bars in Georgia code to be allowed to have these machines. So, any questions?
Yeah. So you, in a restaurant, you sell alcohol and food. If you have COAM machines there, you could still let them redeem for the food portion. Y'all all many times break out the alcohol from the food on your bills, right?
Certainly. The process right now is cumbersome, and that's what the restaurateurs have told me. And because there's training issues, the redemption issues, and the breaking out of the gas checks on that. This would make it much more seamless experience for the staff, the management, as well as the guests in our restaurants.
Okay. Got any questions? All right, thank you for sharing.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
There's two more. Sean Fellas, Georgia Amusement Operators Association.
Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to speak with you all this afternoon. I'm here on behalf of the Georgia Amusement Operators Association and our 100-plus members. Our members are made up of the master licensees who own and possess the machines that are provided to the retailers. I just wanted to speak on behalf of Senator Dixon's bill as it was drafted, that we support that bill. You've heard lengthy discussion from others. I don't need to belabor that again, that we believe the four pieces that were proposed in that bill are the greatest tools to move this forward, the industry forward, and establish more regulatory compliance in the state.
Am I right? I've heard from a lot of people on your side of the industry that your predictions are this might as much as double your revenues if they allow cash cards, the debit cards, gift cards.
I think that's a lofty expectation. I don't know that I necessarily see an explosive expansion in the market as you're explaining. I do believe what we would see, much as they mentioned earlier with the restaurants and bars, you may see those types of businesses incorporate more of these machines. And obviously with the veterans and fraternals, it is a critical tool to keeping those funded and helping them maintain their local services.
Do you know why they're not commonly found in restaurants and bars now?
I think the complication of how that's handled, it's difficult. You know, you've got a bartender who's servicing multiple people at the bar. They've got a wait staff they're trying to maintain. And I think it's just the complexity of trying to separate tickets and, you know, is it a food purchase that we're redeeming for, you know, because alcohol is currently restricted. And then, so that has, you've got a very limited scope of items that can be redeemed in a restaurant or bar. If the restaurant or bar happens to be a lottery retailer today, they're able to award lottery products, and that's where you typically find COAMs today in a restaurant and bar environment.
That sell lottery tickets?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, is there any concern that the effect of having these where alcohol is served, well, you ultimately get your customers drunk so they lose their inhibitions and gamble more? And that's what the casinos do. I'm not being comical. They serve free alcohol for that reason, to increase their play and their profit.
Respectfully, Chairman, I'm not versed on the alcohol laws, but I believe there's prohibitions in our statute that does not allow for free alcohol.
True. But if your winnings can be used to purchase alcohol, you're facilitating that. Would you agree?
I would defer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Senator Lucas, just scratching your head, or do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Les Snyder, saved the best for last. Thank you. It was your bill last year, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Has that been abandoned?
No, I don't believe so. I believe that 544 is still in your committee, and it's still something that could have action on. I just want to bring up a number of points, hopefully, that you all have not talked about today. Senator Cowsard, I just would want to get a clarification, because I know when you and Senator Lucas talked and you were indicating what was in your substitute, I wasn't clear. The first substitute that you had earlier in the day said, no location license for a Class B machine shall be issued for any location which offers or sells distilled spirits by the drink. That would indicate that the VFW and the AMVETs, if they had any hard liquor there, then they couldn't have coin-operated amusement machines. And again, it seems very odd that somebody can drink all the beer they want, they could drink all the wine they want, but if they drink a hard drink, then there couldn't be a Class B machine in the location. I think that would be a serious policy mistake, and I think it's not something that would be helpful to the situation. So we would hope, if that's in this bill, that it would come out of the bill.
We did have confusion because we had Senator Mullis's bill,
Right.
and we had Senator Dixon's bill, and there were two different subs, and trying to blend them together, it was a short fuse to try to get things together and follow my instructions.
Right. So is that in the bill now?
I'm not certain at this
Okay.
point.
So it would be a concern.
Whatever it is passed now. So.
That's right. Yeah. In addition, I would say I've been at this for representing this industry for over 40 plus years. I think it's very easy to demonize, and I have heard this demonization of this industry for a lot. But as Emily Dunn and Sean and the other people have talked about, there's a lot of very decent folks in this industry, and they work as hard as all of us do in our respective occupations. I have heard lawyers demonized. I have heard others demonized. But again, just to be very clear, Senator Kauser, I would say to you that the conversation before was this industry in this state has the highest tax rate of any industry that exists. In addition, in the entire COAM industry across the country, there is no COAM industry with skill-based games that pays a higher tax rate than the people in this state. And they pay it willingly. And they work with the lottery. They have generated a great number of money for education. They have created over 50,000 jobs. They have brought other industries of manufacturers of machines, et cetera. And it's very easy to blend amusement and gambling and just very cavalierly talk about the fact, oh, it's all the same. Well, it's not all the same. These games are skill-based. The player can affect the outcome of the game. In all the other places where it's a gambling jurisdiction like Illinois or whatever, it's a set percentage of outcome. Not the case with these games. In addition, what happened in South Carolina, I have worked with a lot of folks in this room and in past generations to make sure that it doesn't happen here. I have listened to, as we talked about, the dark room in there. There's, in the state law right now, you cannot keep a COAM games that are not in clear view of the store so that anybody could see who's playing them. And I think, again, it's a cheap shot that, again, is demonizing the industry and is way out of line. There's a lot more illegal sports betting that goes on in this state than anything to do with coin-operated music machines and improper conduct. The tax rate that you all passed on horse racing doesn't even compare to the tax rate that we are paying as an industry. Again, we have always been willing to sit down and work on any specific part of this industry to improve it. And the folks here who are in the industry want to keep doing that. We spend a lot of time trying to reach consensus. As Senator Miller pointed out, it's important to do this a piece at a time. And these points that Senator Dixon have in his bill will move things forward. As Ms. Hummerstone indicated, when you've had gift certificates in the law since the 1970s, when I didn't have gray hair, there is not a large amount of difference between a gift certificate and a gift card, except the gift card does give you more reporting opportunities. It does, as Senator Miller pointed out, you're going to get sales tax that is easily recordable and is not just going to help scholarships, it's going to help this entire state. There is a very definite reason why we don't want to be lumped into gambling. If you will make a decision on casinos and racetracks and sports betting, as you're beginning to do, that's something for the people to decide. We are just have a niche that we want to help small business. We want to certainly develop employment opportunities, and we want to move things forward. And we've always tried to do it in a non-demonizing way. Again, when I first brought the first COAM machine to the GBI, and I said, what is the issue relating to these machines? And they said to me, these machines are not a problem when you compare them to the amount of illegal sports betting that goes on in this state every single day. So I would hope that we can have a sobering conversation about moving things forward, as opposed to saying that here's an industry that seems to have done very well, that has 100% financed and hasn't cost the lottery a dime, has bought its own machines, installed those machines, and worked with those machines. But then at the end of the day, we have to criticize them because they've made a lot of money, and they've made a lot of money for the state. I would hope that we can help not only the VFWs and the fraternal organizations, but also help all the small businesses that sometimes those machines are the difference between making a profit or staying in business. And we want to be part of that structure. Whether these machines are at Six Flags, Dave & Buster's, the corner grocery store, or the corner convenience store, or in a restaurant or a bar, then at the end of the day, we want to work with that. But I think we are adopting just too much of the fact that there are all this evil surrounding it. I think what really is important is that we are trying to make distinctions that we want to work through with the members of the committee.
Mr. Snyder,
yes.
Your industry is thriving without gift cards. I mean, we just saw the data.
I don't.
How the sales have gone through the roof in the last 5 years without them, right?
No, I would respectfully disagree. I would
mean,
say there has
we've all just been given sheets that show.
I think this has been a tremendous benefit to the lottery. I think it's a tremendous benefit to small businesses. But it was built on the fact that people made a tremendous amount of investment and put those in. You are not factoring in any of the costs that it does to run the business, whether you're a master license holder or a location owner. So at the end of the day, what the bottom line is for that particular business is not the same thing as what the gross revenues are. As an attorney, I can charge X number of dollars an hour. It doesn't mean that that's gross profit for me. It means that I have expenses that have to be paid. Again, we are very happy that we've had the success that we've had. We believe that this gift card and these other changes in the bill that Senator Dixon has brought forward is going to result in the state making more money, but more importantly, it's going to create an atmosphere that we are, and I have had this conversation with Gretchen. Yes, we are the best COAM operation in the United States. I think we've done it better than anybody else, and we're not a gambler, not with the money payoff, but simply as COAM operation, we do it better. We get calls all the time. How did you all do this in Georgia? You've been very successful. We're proud of that. But at the end of the day, what we really want to do is get better and not just stay in place. So that's the goal here, not the gross revenues, but the jobs that are created, the profit that we can do, the innovation in games. I mean, people talked about addiction before, all right? My wife got on my rear end list this weekend. Why? Because I was playing Wordy, you know, and any of you who've played it, it's addictive, right? But I'm not going to, you know, be ashamed of it or sit there and go, this is a sick problem.
It took me 4 tries this morning. I'm still bummed out.
Well, but Sheila Humberstone has won 60 games in a row. She never gets it wrong. So she's beat Joe DiMaggio's record. Yeah. But again, I think you are discounting the fact that we are trying to have the private sector make a tremendous contribution to a public sector benefit. We're trying to help the veterans. We're trying to help small businesses. And at one point, I believe, not one point, we had gift cards, and it was dramatically successful. Retailers would call us. The local Walmart would call and say, what's going on?
Who's we?
We would get calls. The association.
Who had gift cards?
The industry was allowed to have gift cards.
Certificate for trade-in merchandise within your store.
No. The original law that was passed before, as Senator Mullis indicated with Mike Beatty, originally redemption could be done either in the store or out of the store, gift cards were permitted. We had less problems then than we do now.
Why was that changed? Do you know? You got
Yes,
historical
because
records?
it was the same demonization that I've talked about earlier. That the fact is that it came in, and nobody loves Senator Mullis more than I do, but he knows that at the end of the day there was an irrational exuberance about trying to crush the industry.
You made a comment earlier that something to the effect about letting the people vote, et cetera. I think Chairman Powell last year agreed that a gift card was a cash equivalent, and then it does become gambling. Perhaps the people should vote on that through a constitutional amendment. Do you agree with that, or am I
No, because
mischaracterizing
we've
that?
had gift card. First, there's two reasons for that. First, that we've had a gift certificate in the law forever, from the time the first redemption bill was passed. Secondly, when a game is skill-based, it is not under the gambling laws.
Right. Okay.
So if
don't
you
have
and
time
I
to go through that.
went out and played golf and we had a skill game and you beat me and we had a contest and you won $100, that's not illegal and that's not under the gambling laws. So we go out of our way to make sure that our games are skill-based. If they are pure chance, or they are chance where the player cannot interact and affect the game, then that's a different story and that's a different market. And I know the seminar you went to and you talked about, I understand why people do a third, and a third. But that seems...
Why is that? Why do they
Because
do it?
they have looked at that as they have looked at other states that have gambling, and they have come up with a percentage that they think they're comfortable with. But that's a different market. There are COAMs, skill-based games in Illinois, that don't operate under that third, a third, and a third. And again, I just want to reemphasize the one point, that the games that we are using are and the tax rate that we're paying is the highest tax rate of COAMs in the United States. So we would like to try this gift card program. We'd like to rejuvenate it because it was dramatically successful before. It allowed merchants to have the cards, and I'm sure Senator Cowser, all you have to do is walk into a Costco, and you walk into this one room, they got more gift cards than Carter's got liver pills. You can buy a gift card for just about anything. And the fact of the matter is, using those gift cards has become a real way of commerce. And for us, it would be a wonderful way for the VFW and the AMVETs and the fraternals to be able to do the redemption. They're not going to buy all this merchandise and keep it at the lodge. That's not realistic. And the fact of the matter is, the local merchants in town want to coordinate with the VFWs because they may very well say, hey, buy these gift cards and we'll give you some additional gift cards so you can have people come to the stores. There can be a lot of opportunities, dollars and cents, that improve this. But I think what we're doing with this substitute bill is we're going to hurt the industry. We're going to hurt the success that we've had to date. And I don't think it's going to be a matter that brings everything forward. And again, we would implore you, because obviously this is a deliberative process, but we can make this better from what you've just passed out. And I think Senator Dixon was on to the right thing, but as Senator Miller indicated, I've learned a long time ago around here, no matter how great the idea is, if it's in too many pages, it's not going to make it. So I think we're really looking to try to make a difference in moving things forward.
I think the sober conversation we need to have, I mean, you've just pointed out, our President Pro Tem supports this committee sub. He moved due pass on it that did not include gift cards.
I understand.
And it increased the state's payment. And I've already expressed, the Lieutenant Governor's made it clear he did not want me to vote any bill out of this committee that had those gift cards in it, and so I've created this sub to preserve as much as Senator Dixon's bill and Senator Mullis's bills as I felt like there was a political appetite to pass in this body. And I don't think I can be any clearer than that. And maybe this is a deal where you take a bite out of the elephant at a time and move the goal towards your goal. You're in a thriving industry. It's doing well. We have the data in front of us that shows it went from $403 million in sales in 2015 to $4.5 billion in sales in 2021 with no gift cards.
And no consideration, and no consideration for the cost that it does to run the business.
The
None of
profits
those
of the business went up from $295 million to $3.2 billion.
And if you and I had a law firm and our billings went up that high, it still wouldn't tell us how much profit we were making because our expenses may have gone up a lot higher. All I'm saying is that it seems we're taking a myopic view of just looking at gross and not looking at the expenses of the private sector that is supporting this industry. And the difference between the money that you're now talking about taking from to the state away from both parties, the master and the location owner, is going to have a debilitating effect.
All right.
And I would hope that we would be able to have more conversations about being more innovative on the approach that we're taking. But again, you know how much I respect you, but at the end of the day, that I think we are making a mistake in moving it in this direction. I don't think just increasing percentages makes it better. But I just want to make sure that, you know, we all, there's a lot of things that people talked about today that the law is already on the books and just needs further enforcement, and that's what has to be looked at.
That'll be in a different bill. Okay, well, thank you. It's now
Thank you.
5:20. I apologize to the committee and the audience, but I wanted everybody to have a chance to be heard on this issue. We'll see if the House deals with it any differently, but this is where we leave it. Thank you for being here. We are adjourned. We do not have a meeting tomorrow. I might have made that mention the other day that we could. There was some rumor or discussion that we might not gavel in until 1 o'clock. We are gaveling in at